Imagine this. It's a crisp autumn morning in your quiet home, perhaps in a suburban neighborhood outside Chicago, or a cozy cottage in the English countryside, or a sun-drenched backyard in Melbourne. You're sipping your coffee, the steam rising like whispers of the past, and suddenly, that memory surfaces unbidden. The promotion you didn't get after decades of loyal service. The business venture that folded just as you thought it was taking off. The family rift that left a hollow ache in your chest. Failure. It creeps in like fog, heavy and unrelenting, making you wonder, what if I'd done things differently? Am I too old to start over? But pause with me here, friend. What if I shared a secret that's changed countless lives, including my own? Failure isn't a full stop at the end of your sentence. It's a comma, inviting you to continue with deeper wisdom and unshakable grace. Today, in this gentle conversation, we're going to unpack, step by step, how to turn those very failures into stepping stones that lead you to a life of fulfillment and quiet triumph. No rush, no pressure, just honest reflection and actionable hope. Stay with me. By the end, you'll see your past in a whole new light. Let's begin at the very foundation, embracing your failure with kindness. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Kindness toward failure? Isn't that just letting yourself off the hook? Not at all. This is about treating yourself with the same compassion you'd offer a dear friend who stumbled. In our fast-paced world, especially as we age and reflect on a lifetime of experiences, it's easy to judge ourselves harshly. We replay the what-ifs and should-haves, building walls of shame that keep us from moving forward. But true healing starts when we lower those walls and say, this happened, and it's okay to feel the weight of it. Embracing with kindness means acknowledging the pain without letting it define you. It's a deliberate choice to sit with the discomfort, like warming your hands by a fire on a cold night, until it softens into understanding. Why does this matter so much? Because without this first step, every other effort feels forced, like pushing a boulder uphill. With kindness, though, you create space for growth, turn what feels like a burden into a bridge. To make this real, let me take you into the life of Margaret, a 58-year-old widow from Sydney, Australia, whose story I hold close to my heart. Margaret had spent 35 years as a dedicated nurse, tending to others with tireless care. When her husband passed, she sought a new purpose, investing her life savings, every penny from years of scrimping, into a little cafe by the harbor. She envisioned as a haven, fresh scones, steaming teas, and conversations that mended souls. For months, she poured her energy into it, rising at dawn to bake, staying late to chat with patrons. But reality hit hard. The neighborhood shifted, rent soared, and foot traffic dwindled. Within 18 months, the cafe shuttered its doors. Margaret was left staring at empty shelves, her dreams in tatters. The failure crushed her. She isolated herself, avoiding friends, convinced she let everyone down. Her late husband, her children, even herself. Nights were the worst, filled with tears and self-recrimination. But one rainy afternoon, as she sat alone with forgotten scone, something shifted. A neighbor dropped by, not with pity, but with a simple question. How are you holding up? In that moment, Margaret decided to try kindness. She didn't deny the grief. Instead, she journaled out, writing letters to her younger self. You tried with all your heart. That's not failure. That's courage. She allowed the emotions to flow, anger at the economy, sadness of the lost dream, without judgment. It took weeks, even months, of small rituals. A daily walk along the harbor where the cafe once stood, breathing deeply and whispering affirmations like, I am more than this moment. That embrace opened her eyes to her innate gift, her warmth in connecting with people, honed from years of nursing. Today, at 62, Margaret facilitates community wellness circles, sharing stories and herbal teas in local halls. Her failure didn't break her. It redirected her to a path of deeper impact, where she touches lives in ways the cafe never could. Margaret's journey teaches us that kindness isn't weakness. It's the soil from which new growth springs. So, I invite you, what failure can you approach with a softer heart today? Feel it, honor it, and watch how it begins to lighten, With that foundation of kindness laid, we move to the next vital step, extracting the hidden lessons from your failure. This isn't about dissecting every detail like a surgeon, though it can feel analytical at times, but about mining for gold in what seems like rubble. Picture your failure as a weathered old book on your shelf. It's full of chapters you haven't fully read yet. Ask gentle questions. What skills did this reveal in me? Where were my blind spots? How has the world around me changed? And what can I adapt? These aren't accusatory probes. They're curious explorations that empower you. In midlife and beyond, with the wisdom of years behind us, we're uniquely positioned to do this well. We've seen patterns repeat, successes build on past trials. The key is patience. Don't rush to fix it. Sit with a notebook or a quiet voice recorder and let the insights emerge naturally. What you'll find are not just facts, but profound truths that reshape your future. This extraction turns passive suffering into active learning, making your failure a professor rather than a persecutor. Let me illustrate with the story of Robert, a 62-year-old engineer from Manchester, UK, whose path mirrors so many in the industrial heartlands. Robert had dedicated 40 years to a manufacturing firm, rising through the ranks with his sharp mind for mechanics and unyielding work ethic. He was a go-to guy for fixing impossible problems, earning respect and a comfortable life. But then came the merger, a corporate shuffle that left him at 59 redundant. Laid off with a modest severance, Robert felt obsolete, like a machine tossed on a scrap heap. The failure stung deeply. He withdrew into his workshop at home, tinkering aimlessly. His confidence eroded. "I'm too old for this game," he'd muttered to his wife. Applications went unanswered and resentment built. One evening, prompted by his son's gentle nudge, Robert decided to extract the lessons. He pulled out a worn ledger and started listing. What worked in my career? His problem-solving prowess shone, but he'd overlooked networking. Always the lone wolf. Blind spot. He'd resisted digital tools, assuming his hands-on expertise was enough, but the industry had pivoted to software integration. The world lesson? Global supply chains meant companies valued adaptability over loyalty. It took several sessions, over tea in his garden, reflecting on each point without self-blame, but clarity came. One insight hit home. He excelled at mentoring apprentices back in the day. Why not leverage that now? Robert joined a local engineering society, sharing his knowledge in informal talks. From there, freelance opportunities arose, consulting on legacy systems for startups bridging old and new tech. By 65, he's not just working, he's leading workshops, authoring a simple guide on engineering wisdom for the digital age, and even advising his grandchildren on perseverance. Robert's extraction didn't erase the layoff's pain, but it transformed into a toolkit, proving that at any age, lessons from failure are timeless treasures. As you reflect, what one lesson from your own setback might you uncover today? Let it guide you forward. Now that the lessons are unearthed, it's time for the transformative act of reframing your perspective. This step is like stepping back from a painting to see the whole canvas. Suddenly, the dark strokes blend into a masterpiece. Reframing means shifting from "this broke me" to "this repaired me" or "this protected me from a mismatched path." It's not denial or toxic positivity. It's a compassionate lens that honors the full story. In our 50s and beyond, with life's chapters unfolding, we have a vantage point to do this masterfully. We witness how detours often lead to destinations we never imagined. Start small. Visualize a failure as a plot twist in your autobiography. What doors did it close? Only open others. This mental shift reduces emotional grip, freeing energy for what's next. It's empowering because it places you as the author, not the victim, of your narrative. Consider Elena, a 55-year-old teacher, an aspiring writer from California, U.S., whose tale of reframing is a beacon for creative souls in midlife. Elena had always harbored a dream of storytelling, scribbling notes during lunch breaks amid grading papers, and raising a family. After her children flew the nest, she committed 5 years to her debut novel, a heartfelt tale of family bonds and second chances, drawn from her own life. She queried agents, entered contests, poured her soul into revisions. But the responses? A stack of polite rejections. Not quite right for our list. The final blow came from a major publisher. Market saturation. At 55, Elena felt the failure acutely. Her words, once a private joy, now symbolized unfulfilled promise. She shelved the manuscript, doubting her voice in a youth-obsessed world. Yet, during a solitary walk along the Pacific coast, waves crashing like unresolved thoughts, Elena paused to reframe. What if these rejections aren't about my talent, but about timing and fit? She pondered. Maybe the traditional path wasn't hers. Perhaps the story was meant for direct connection, bypassing gatekeepers. The closed doors? They protected her from a system that might dilute her authentic voice. With this shift, she dusted off the novel, self-published it on platforms like Kindle, and launched a companion blog sharing writing tips for midlife dreamers. The response was electric. Readers in their 50s and 60s flooded in, relating their themes of renewal. What started as failure bloomed into a community. Book clubs, online workshops, even a podcast where Elena interviews fellow late bloomers. Now 60, her words reach thousands, proving that reframing turns isolation into inspiration. Elena's experience reminds us, perspective is a gift we can choose, especially with the clarity age brings. So, take a moment now. What if your failure was the universe's way of redirecting you to your true north? Finally, with embrace, lessons, and reframing in place, we arrive at inspired action, the bridge from insight to reality. This isn't about Herculean efforts or overnight overhauls. It's deliberate, bite-sized steps infused with the passion your reflections have ignited. Think of it as planting seeds in fertile soil you just tilled. One tend them daily, and growth follows naturally. For those of us over 50, action feels different, wiser, more selective. Draw on accumulated experience rather than raw energy. Start with one commitment. What small move honors your lessons? Track it gently. Celebrate progress and adjust as needed. This step is crucial because knowledge alone gathers dust. Action breathes vitality into your story, creating momentum that carries you over new horizons. It's the culmination of our journey, turning stepping stones into a solid path. Let me share the profound arc of Tom, a 60-year-old farmer from rural Texas, whose actions after failure embody quiet determination. Tom's family had tilled the same land for generations, a legacy of sweat and soil under vast skies. But 2 brutal droughts in a row, unprecedented in his lifetime, withered his cornfields to dust. Crops failed, debts mounted, and the bank letters loomed like storm clouds. At 58, Tom saw it as the end. This farm's been my life. Without it, who am I? The failure isolated him. He snapped at his wife, avoided town, wrestling with a sense of defeat that echoed his father's warnings about nature's whims. Drawing from our earlier steps, Tom first embraced the grief during long evenings on the porch, then extracted lessons. He relied too heavily on traditional monocrops, ignoring climate shifts. Diversification was key, blending farming with community value. Reframing it, he saw the droughts not as curses, but calls to evolve, protecting the land for his grandkids. Inspired, Tom acted incrementally. First, he researched drought-resistant seeds through local co-ops, planting a test plot of sorghum and native grains. Scary? Absolutely, with loans to repay. But the first harvest yielded promise. Next, leveraging his love for the land stories, he added ecotourism, guided walks highlighting sustainable practices, complete with farm-fresh meals. The inaugural group, city folks seeking respite, raved about the peace, booking return visits. Challenges arose, marketing glitches, weather setbacks, but Tom persisted one step at a time, partnering with a nearby B&B, sharing tips on social media with his kids' help. Today, at 64, Tom's farm isn't just surviving. It's a model of resilience, hosting school groups and even selling his drought-proof farming handbook online. Profits flow steadily, but more than that, purpose does. Tom's found joy in stewardship. His story whispers, action, when inspired, doesn't demand perfection. It demands presence. What one inspired step will you take this week, building on your own stepping stones? As we draw this journey to a close, let's linger here together in a moment of stillness. Breathe in the possibilities we've uncovered. The kindness that softens edges, the lessons that illuminate paths, the reframing that reveals beauty in the broken, and the actions that propel us onward. You walk through stories of real souls, Margaret, Robert, Elena, Tom, who, like you, face the shadows of failure and emerge with lights in their hands. These aren't distant tales. They're mirrors reflecting your potential for renewal, especially in this season of life where depth trumps haste. Feel the weight lift, the hope stir. What failure from your past is calling to be transformed? What lesson lingers? What step beckons? I encourage you, in the comment below, to share openly what resonated deepest today. Perhaps a personal story of turning a setback, or a simple, "this gave me hope." Your words could be the stepping stone for someone else scrolling in the quiet hours. If this conversation has touched your heart, as it has mine in preparing it, please like the video to affirm its reach, subscribe for more in-depth explorations of living vibrantly after 50, and share with a friend or family member who's navigating their own crossroads. They might just need this gentle nudge. Together, we're weaving a tapestry of resilience, one shared story at a time. Thank you from the depths of my heart for joining me. Go forth with grace and strength. Until next time,